Hello and welcome again to another painting tutorial. Today we will be looking at and painting the leader himself of Grashrak's Ravengers from Warhammer Underworld's Beastgrave core set. I will be using a lot of contrast paints and just to get these what they say battle ready, and so we'll just go through here and see what we can do. As you're going to see, I primed these gray, I think with the gray here, and I want to start with the base first. So I'm using Pro Acryl's dark camo green, just watered down and getting the all the base in there. Other elements in on the base are the rocks and the skulls and bones and stuff, and we'll get to those, but just kind of want to go get as much of it covered as possible. One of the things to remember is if you get a little bit on the rocks or even the skulls or anything, we can always go back and touch up any slop, any overspill with your gray primer that you used. Right. The next color that we use is a dark neutral gray. Again, any color for these stones will be fine. Just an all over coverage, and just to get the stones. We will be applying a wash and just one highlight here in a moment. When we're picking out these the stones or whatever items that you have on the base, I mean, you can always choose a couple of different colors, but there's so much going on this base, it may I'm not sure of the exact need, and you can always go back. One of the things that I like doing with my models and encouraging other people to do is to go back and after you've painted your models and you've been playing with them, to go back and add some higher highlights on them later. All right, so now we're going to paint all the bone items that are on the base. I'm using just an ivory. You can use whatever beige, ivory, off-white color that you prefer or that you like for bones and skulls and stuff like that. We will be putting an all-over wash on these skulls. When it comes to painting fantasy models in particular, but even some sci-fi stuff is going to have them as well, there's always skulls and bones and stuff. We're this is war gaming, and so there's going to be some warring going on. So we paint a lot of bones and stuff. So find a color that you like, and try different ones. But whenever you got one that you like, you can stick to it, or maybe even a couple of different ones for different types of bone, whether it's been dried out on the battlefield for a while or not. And also different washes and different techniques. It's probably good to have at least two, if not more, different go-tos, and that goes for not just bone but also like leathers. You have different dark leather, brown leather, red. We'll be doing a couple of different types today on this model itself, but that way you have a little variety, and amongst your different models, you don't have to do or use all those different colors on the same model, but between different models and different ones, it'll be nice. Okay, pretty straightforward here. We're going to put an all-over wash on the base, covering the green ground, the stones, and the skulls themselves. So I used Citadel's Agrax Earthshade. You can use any, brown, dark brown, or black brown wash, just to give it that earthy kind of look, just to let it pull, hold in the recesses, and bring out some of that detail. So what I do here is I just use some of the gray and the ivory that I have on my palette and just mixed up a lighter color of gray, and just kind of going with broad strokes, or it's not a real fine detail, but I'm just highlighting the tops of these rocks. The base isn't conducive to a dry brushing, so it's just go in there and hit the tops of these rocks. Or I think in some of them I kind of painted the whole side, and then I went back and hit the very tops again for a brighter highlight. Alright, so our next color and first contrast paint that we're going to be using is Gilliman's Flesh, which is a really good general purpose flesh color. I've used this with a couple of different undercoats. This one, of course, is a gray primer or undercoat, and I liked it. It came out more like a pink fleshy, versus if it was an ivory, it would have like that more tan, more red, just a darker look with a single application. Of course, you can just kind of be light-handed with this and apply it lighter, and you get that. You'll get more of that undercoat coming through. Now, this is one of the longer steps in painting this in the flesh. Trying to be careful, of course. Not wanting to get any slop. I don't believe I think I cut out the footage of after this, going back and cleaning up, like just getting some gray and touching up any places that I got some slop onto. But I'm just trying to be deliberate, I guess, is the mindset or thought, that I want to be deliberate and where I'm putting this, as opposed to just like I did the wash on the base, just kind of where I was just slapping it on there. Here, when you can see me, I try to be deliberate and careful with it. Also, whenever you're painting flesh, or the flesh for the model, you can always apply that second layer in areas that are shadowed, so that under the arm or under the chin, wherever it may be, the inner leg or thigh, so that you can have that shadow kind of built in there. Especially with this Beastman, his flesh is kind of light, and we're going to do a little technique on the feet later in the video, because you have the kind of the transformation, or we'll be having a darker color down there. All right, our next color is Black Templar, which covers a lot of this model. Probably, I would say more so than even the flesh. I cover, all the armor, as well as the leather and rope bits, but I'm going to be going back over them with another color, or another tinting them with another filter color or contrast color, whether it's the browns or the red browns and stuff like that. But these guys, if you look at the picture on the Games Workshop website, you see, they really, they're dark. Their armor's dark, everything's dark. Being particularly careful around the face. If you get this on the flesh, you pretty much have to go and just get gray and cover up anything and then go over. One of the things on this, I did thin or mix in some of the contrast medium with this because I didn't want to use it neat or full strength because it's just so dark. I mean, it'll still pull away, but it would almost be like just an opaque black paint, and that isn't what we wanted. We wanted some of the details. We wanted it to fall off the details and show some of the high relief on the model. Just going to continue. You're going to see, you know, if you haven't seen this model or a picture of this model, just how much you can really start seeing the detail, but how much of it is dark, whether it's black or a variation thereof. I don't think there's any metallics on that I used, any metallics that I can think of, metallic paint that is, on this one. I think it was mostly like the black leathers and all his pouches and stuff. He's more of a shaman, I guess, so as far as weaponry. He does have that bloody sword over there, but we used the same thinned down black Templar for that weapon as well. So as we're finishing up the black in here, I have this you know, sped up, and you know, to shorten the videos, and I've also thought about cutting out a lot of the details instead of showing you, you know, 95% of all the painting that I do in frame at least. I could cut out a lot of this and just cut to the next step. I'm not sure. You know, sometimes when I'm trying to watch, you know, somebody paint a model, I want to see, you know, how did they get this part on the back, or you know, what color did they paint it and stuff. So hey, in the comments below, just tell me, do you like seeing the entire painting, or do you like seeing it cut to you know, a small example of a color and then cut to the other one? I'll also, as I say that, try to stay in shot a little more. Alright, so just finishing up a few of these black details. I also have another camera lens that I want to use, and see how this goes. But I'm learning a little more and more each week with these videos. As you see, I have a little graphic of the color that I'm using, and I have some other ideas some friends have given me, so stay tuned. We'll see what we have for next week. So what I'm doing now, I'm going back with the ivory, and I'm going to go over all the areas that are bone or skull that I'm going to be applying a wash to later. So again, just the same thing that I did on the base. I'm just replicating that, or applying that technique on the model itself. All right. So what color do you guys and gals and painters out there, what color do you like to use when you're painting skulls? What brand, what color of beige, and what's your technique? Put that down in the comments. I'm definitely of the mindset that there's not one right way to paint. Lord knows I don't think I have the market cornered on it. So Put down your bone painting techniques down in the comments. All right. The next color that we're going to be using is this Gorgunta fur, which is a brown red. And I'm mixing that. I think I mixed that. That looks straight. I may have put a little black in it. We'll have to look at the palette cam. And what I'm doing is painting not only the fur and the hoof at of course the bottom of the model, but also bringing it up into the to the calf part of the leg, up to the leg. It does come out really a stark difference than the flesh color, and I'm not sure if I got it on camera or kept the footage, but I also go back later with a sepia wash to kind of glaze that in. This is Wildwood, which is a brown, a dark brown, and I mixed it in with some black to paint the staff of his weapon, or the staff that he has there. So, okay, so our next item that we're going to paint are like leather pouches and the wraps on the staff. And what I did was just mix some of the Gorgunta fur with the Blood Angels red, just to get that red leather look. I think I also put it on the bottom of the knife. There's like a blood effect. So do that. This pouch, as well as, yeah, right there. That's like for the blood effect. And then for the wraps, I think I went like even darker red, like more of the Blood Angels red than the Gorgunta fur. And again, one of the great things about using these contrast paints is just mixing them with since they have that transparency. If if we do this with just acrylic paint, regular opaque paint, we get browns or grays, sometimes when we do a little too much wild mixing. But what we're doing here is just filtering different colors on top of each other with this the transparent nature of the contrast paint. Here I just went back with the black Templar, that bottom middle pool of paint there, and I think I'm just working on a couple little areas I missed. The rope, the blade on the like stone blade that he has here. One of the nice features about having all your colors on the palette is you can just go back and touch up on an area that you may have missed earlier. So what we're going to do now is put a little Seraphon Sepia wash from Games Workshop on the palette and go over all the areas that all the bone, skull, little pieces of bone hanging off this model. And there's quite a few. And again, we're going to go over certain areas a couple of times after it dries, because we want to kind of darken it up some. All right. Yeah, lots of pieces there. So now we're using Basilicanum Gray. Nice little color just for little odds and ends. There's these like little circular, I think, stone pieces. So I just go over all of them, and just kind of gives a nice little color, something different, a different color for all the items that he has hanging off his. This is a great color just for items like that. Another one, I didn't use it on this model, but it's Apothecary White, which is a gray. Definitely, I would say this is more of a black than a gray. Again, I'm off frame here, So something for me to work on next week. But yeah, that Apothecary White is another great color that we have. Let's see, next up we're going to use the Snakebite Leather. So this color is really rich. Not that you can see it. There we go. Just on a little wrap there. But what I did was just introduce a little bit of the black so that it's that darker leather, not so yellow or orange leather, but a good dark leather that goes with the rest of this model. Again, play around with, test out different combinations with these colors. So, right. Let's see, what do I have here? Going with the Snakebite Leather. Okay, so just hitting just a few little areas. You know, all these colors are kind of in the brown family, so you can kind of go back and touch up little areas. Here we go back with the ivory, and I'm just highlighting all the bone. There's quite a bit of it, so you just kind of take your time and just build it up over 2 or 3 different layers. Also on the top of the horns on the staff, I just introduced or painted with some black Templar to give it that dark look on top of the bones. Plus, in the brown areas, I think I did another layer of the Seraphim Sepia, the brown sepia wash there. So we're going to jump ahead. Again, just going over different layers with the ivory just to bring up the intensity. What I do now is use some of that Snakebite Leather and go over these straps just to bring them out against the black of the rest of the uniform, the leather that he has on there. So yeah, just using it neat so that it'd be nice and intense. You can use this for these straps or the little ropes that are holding some of his little bejangles that he has hanging off himself. So yeah, and you know what? I believe I went over these like 2 or 3 times just to really get them to stand. All right, so now we have everything's covered. There's paint on everything, and what I do now, a technique I talk about quite a bit, and one of the things I try to implement is going back and just creating or defining some of the highlights more. So with the flesh on here, I use pale pink and just kind of glaze on in the highest areas of the flesh, just so that there's, it stands out a little bit, and I could always go back with a gray and highlight more of the black leather that he's wearing, or even a more of a brown for the leather, reds, more ivory on all the bone. There's always something you can do. And again, I like to do this, right before, if I know I'm going to be playing this warband this week, well, then I want to go out and, maybe add a little bit of highlights to 1 or 2 of the models that I'm going to be using. So as I'm finishing up here, again, if you have any questions about what I was trying to do here, definitely put them in the comments. I thank you so much for watching. This is quite an encouragement. Here we got the finished product of Grashrak and his group of Ravagers, I guess. And yeah, if there's any Age of Sigmar type models that you'd like to see painted on the channel, let me know and we'll get to them. All